when we talk about the Satanic Panic, I hope everybody understands what we're talking about, is that in the 80s, people were worried that just about everything that kids were into and being influenced by was of the devil. I mean, so not so different for
clearly
a lot of people, but and in this case, they might not be completely wrong. We're going to go with an animation that was done in Japan but sold in America for 3 seasons, and yeah, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, which
it was one of my favorites.
Which already we're off to a good start because Dungeons and Dragons, the paper and pencil role playing game, was already a target of every fucking religious nut.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't play it growing up because it was of the devil. I wasn't allowed to play the Dungeons and Dragons. They didn't say anything about me playing stuff like Rifts or Robotech or Shadowrun or anything, but Dungeons and Dragons, can't play that one. Even though I had a whole bunch of... some kid at school handed me a bunch of the first generation modules, and so it was always fun drawing stuff on grid paper. I never knew how to play the game, but I loved looking like the monster manuals and stuff, and just the lore of things was always fun, you know? But that's the RPG proper. This is the cartoon series, and I'm going to play the whole intro for you here.
Hey, look! A Dungeons and Dragons ride! Wow, neat!
Give me a break.
I don't like this!
Whoa! What's happening?
Whoa! Where are we?
Look out! Fear not, Ranger. Barbarian, magician, thief, cavalier, and acrobat.
Who was that?
That was Venger, the force of evil. I am Dungeon Master, your guide in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, what a good series.
I mean, it's terrible, but...
It really is. And Kyle and I have not gone back.
No, there are some things you don't revisit.
So, let's go ahead and get started. Like, we're going to talk about a handful of the characters here. You have Hank the Ranger, voiced by Willie Ames, which, if anybody's been around long enough, they know Willie Ames is fucking Bible Man. The Christians are going to be talking shit about a series starring their future Lord and Savior, Bible Man, because I thought that was just great. You had Adam Rich, who played Presto the Magician, a couple of other good voice actors. Frank Welker played Uni the Unicorn. Anybody Frank Welker? Anybody know about that one? He's very good at doing animal voices. So
yeah.
He did the Fred Jones voice in Scooby-Doo for a while there, from its inception from 1969, and is the voice of Scooby-Doo since 2002. He's known as Megatron in the Transformers franchise, Nibbler on Futurama. Oh man, he's been around fucking forever.
He's everywhere. Man. Yeah. You know his voice.
Let's his
put it
voice.
That way.
Let's see. Who's the Dungeon Master? Sidney Miller. I gotta see if I can remember. He was an actor, director, and songwriter, but he was like old timey. He was an old man on the cartoon, and he was an old man in real life. Yeah. Venger, which is kind of funny, the main villain, who's like a obviously demonic looking guy, which the Christians are going to talk about here in a minute.
Of course.
I know we keep meaning to come around to it, but he was voiced by Peter Cullen, which Optimus Prime for anybody out there that's wondering. I kind of have a thing for voice actors. If anybody hasn't learned that, I think they're fucking great. And then Frank Welker also did the voice of Tiamat, which is the 5-headed dragon, as you saw in the intro there, who's also the arch rival of Venger. Anyway, we're getting way too much into the lore, and instead, let's hear how these Christian guys are going to completely get it fucking wrong. And here we go.
Let's go into the more blatantly occultic things.
Yes.
I remember a couple years ago, I preached a message for television called Dungeons and Dragons. And in it, I dealt with the occultic overtones, the witchcraft, the demonism, the spells that were perpetrated through the game Dungeons and Dragons. And I felt at the time that children were identifying so closely with those little pieces in the game that we even had newspaper clippings of children that had dropped out. Some they thought had even committed suicide because of the game.
No.
No.
No. Hey, assholes! You know what the magic spells in the game were? I use one of my level 1 spell slots and I cast magic missile.
Mm-hmm.
Roll for attack.
Yeah.
Roll for initiative. You know, it wasn't really like I summon the forces of Satan to cast a spell upon the guy.
Right. This was really just. This was actually one of the first cases that I remember encountering in my life of people criticizing and ripping and just ripping on something that they had no knowledge of. They didn't understand it, so it's bad.
What's really funny is that they could have gone through the whole game. They could have got a whole bunch of these Christian kids together and said, okay, you are a bunch of either clerics or you're a bunch of paladins. You know, you could have been all of these righteous and holy characters and you could have them going out and slaying demons, you know?
Yeah.
What's not better to bring your Christian kid up and to help them with their imagination than to play fucking Dungeons and Dragons? It's a good game. It's a really good game.
It's terrific. Terrific
Anyway,
game.
we got to get back to these guys.
And even more has come to light since then. And I wanted to show a clip from Dungeons and Dragons right now showing the occultic overtones of the game. So here's from the cartoon show that's now come from the game. Here it is, Dungeons and Dragons.
Excellent. Soon the repairs will be completed, and your work will be done now for. Your ship shall make me more powerful than ever. Well, what is it?
The lost children have been spotted in the forest nearby, with Dungeon Master's young ones.
Now that's the shadow creature. I can't remember what his name was, but it was one of Venger's
henchmen. It's one of his guys.
It was a stupid looking villain too. God, it was dumb looking. Like he had the Voldemort nose slit thing going on. Oh man.
Now we can eliminate them all.
No!
What?
If you harm those children, I will work no more.
Is that so?
Your threats mean little to me, Venger.
As you wish. Shadow Demon, see that they are captured and bring them to me.
But
go, and do not harm them.
Okay, so they're using a clip where the bad guy says, "Do not harm them." Does anybody else see the fucking comedy here?
Well, Phil, we've been watching a character here called Venger and another black creature called Shadow Keeper. What do they represent to you?
What do they represent to you? Oh, to me, they represent villains. I mean, that's what I would go with as a kid. Be like, they're bad guys.
Yeah. I think that's probably what they were.
They're the toys that don't sell that well. That's what they are.
I believe that it's a direct depiction of Satan and his demon powers and demon friends.
Of course you would, because you see everything is Satan and demons, and it's always so fucking like hammer and nail with you, isn't it? Like everything's a fucking nail when all you got is your hammer, isn't it?
It's all demons. Everything's demons.
I could use that to whack that a few times. I'm going to go ahead and go over there and just smack it a few times, see if that fixes the problem. Oh, your car's not running right? Let me take my hammer out and smack it a couple times. It's like, how many times a day do you think this guy prays? I mean, probably none. Probably none. But he wants to make sure everybody else does pray. I think
it would be hilarious. I mean, clearly going through this series, clearly it's, oh, what do you think about this? Oh, demons, clearly.
Need to get some.
Yeah, that's clearly a representation of the Satan and demons.
Hideous fucking chairs and like crappy suits and a perm weave or a perm wig, and like let's just sit across from each other talking about old cartoons and how full of goodness and how that reviles us. You know, it's like these shows, they were so saccharine laced, I can't watch them anymore. The good guys always won. That kind of thing. I don't know. Well, let's see what else they're going to say.
That go forth for him. I believe that Dungeons and Dragons is a direct quote from the pit of hell, if you want to call it that. It is a mind-bending game, a mind-changing game. It is involved with all kinds of occult and pagan religion.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't.
Mind-bending? Yeah. It
really
causes you to think about things in a creative way sometimes, where you're like, I'm going to make sure I cast, like, detect spell or detect trap before I go to the next square kind of thing. Because you've played with this DM before, and he's a real asshole about springing traps on you. It's like, man, it's not that fucking hard. All it takes is a good imagination, and you've got hours and hours of fun with this game.
Right. And you'd think, just, I mean, no, clearly, never mind. They never even bothered to actually look at the game.
They don't know. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Or watch the show.
Oh man, but
with the understanding that it was just a show.
Just imagine like this is like 85 probably that they made this movie. So like we're talking like early Gygax, like and Gygax was a fucking Christian too. That's the other thing that blows me away, is that they don't know their own audience when it comes to talking about this stuff. And God, could you imagine how terrible? I don't remember the first edition character sheets. I remember second edition and how fucking crazy long they were. I'm like, there's like 13 pages on this thing. What the hell?
Yeah.
But that was early 90s. Anyway, what else are they gonna say?
Player's handbook includes over 160 pages of spells to be cast.
100? No fucking way. No way back in the first edition did they have 160 pages of spells. It's just, no. That's the whole book. That's the whole book's fucking first. Jesus Christ, these people.
Look at one of the handbooks here. This is the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the Monster Manual. And it's full of monstrous figures and actually those creatures that the children can imagine. And children's imaginations are very active, aren't they?
Yes, very much so.
Now let's look at another one of these.
Yeah, imagine yourself defeating these bad guys, or wondering what would happen if you were to happen to go into their lair, kind of thing. It's like me knowing what all the creatures are on Fantastic Beasts are when they pop up on the screen because I'm that big of a nerd.
Right. Or if you were, if you played the game, anything like I did with my friends, can I have sex with that creature? Roll the dice.
I'm not surprised. Roll a stamina check if it's like tentacles. If it's somewhat sentient, then it would be a charisma check, right?
It's usually a charisma check, yeah.
Yeah, I always played weird fucking characters, so I never had very good charisma. So.
This is where we go into the Dungeon Master's Guide. Who is the Dungeon Master?
Well, the Dungeon Master is a person who plays God in the game.
Not too incorrect on that one.
Kind of, I guess. Sure.
I mean, he's ambivalent towards the players.
If you want to...
Depends on what kind of God we're talking about here.
Down to, yeah, sure. Okay.
We're not talking about your God. I mean, because you guys believe you have an intercessory God who listens to all your prayers and everything. Most dungeon masters I've ever had, they don't give a fuck if you die in battle or something. Like, well, that was really stupid. Why did you do that? Or like the minute you move a square or something like that, and they just go. Or we used to not play with the sheets or anything. He would just have like his own stuff, and would be like, "Okay, we're going into I'm going to go into the next room," and like all of a sudden he's like looking at his reference stuff, and you're like, "Oh fuck!" Or roll for initiative.
Yep. Yep. Always the calls for rolling it.
God damn it! What are you making me fight now?
And he controls all the situations. In fact, the books tell him that he is the god of the game, and he controls the situations in the game, controls the way the players are moving through the dungeons, and then
no, the stats actually do the moving through the dungeon thing.
Yeah.
then if he doesn't like someone, he can play pretty much against them.
Do you think parents are aware that when the children play the game, that demon spirits are involved?
I do not think that many parents are aware of what's inside the game. In fact, in my presentation, I show many pictures from the inside of the book just to show the images of this game. I mean, the gruesomeness of this game and the occult link to it.
I always love the artwork in these things.
Oh, it's terrific artwork.
It's like one of my favorite things about playing, like, in this off topic, but Warhammer 40K, one of my favorite things was just the artwork that came with that stuff. I love that shit.
Well, I know that when I did my message, and this has happened, I have letter after letter where people took the pieces. Now, there's 6s involved in the pieces of the game, but they take the pieces of the game.
He's talking about dice?
Yeah, he's talking about dice.
6s.
Maybe, because that's really the only pieces involved in the game. I mean, you can have figures, but you don't need them.
Didn't they, like, substantially make it easier, like in 4th edition, where you only need D6s at that point? Because I thought for a while there, I thought the dice checks were, like, a lot more complicated, like D20s, D10s, and shit like that.
Yeah, they were. But, I can't remember what they did in the 4th edition. But I don't think the dice combinations changed too much.
Well, no, because you had to roll 20. 20 was like a crit, and then 1 was a fail. So yeah, it was D20. Anyway, whatever. 6s are involved. Yeah, just like 6s are involved with every fucking counting to 10.
They would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace, and screams would come out because there seemed to be some kind of spiritual forces inhabiting those pieces, and children would drop out of life. They didn't want to study anymore.
No, because studying fucking sucks when you're a kid.
Yeah, they did. And if you had the kind of parents that were throwing your D&D books in the fire, that would probably make me want to drop out of everything too.
Like, yep, I'm done with you guys. You're terrible parents.
What are the pieces, for instance?
Well, this game affects the most intelligent of our children, and the pieces include white witches, wizards, necromancers, the clerics, that type of thing. It includes evil wizards. It's a white versus black witchcraft.
So Christianity then.
Just so blatantly misunderstanding.
It's all witchcraft, Kyle. It's all witchcraft.
So there are demons.
We're smart. We can figure this thing out.
Good versus evil is white versus black witchcraft. And Anton LaVey, the writer of the Satanist Bible, says there is no such thing as white witchcraft.
But
why would the fuck would you ask a Satanist about white witchcraft versus black witchcraft? Especially Anton Xander LaVey, who was just out there to piss people off. No, don't get me wrong. Satanic Bible is actually a very interesting read. Just as long as you don't take it all to fucking heart, you know?
Yeah.
Left-hand path literature is interesting as fuck to read. I'm just going to leave that there. I mean, of course, we're trying to lead you people to Satan because we're evil Satan.
Right. I mean, we're not really trying that hard to lead, but it's more like there's this door over there.
I mean, you don't have to pick these 2 doors. There's the third one over there if you really want to look at that one.
Yeah, there's a third door, and that one's pretty cool. Pretty badass.
You're going to meet a lot of neat people on that path.
You won't need your pants over there.
True. They are very sex positive in that world. Love it. Every once in a while I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, look, there's tits.
For he should know.
Yeah, he should know that all power from Satan is going to create evil and havoc. And what it shows is a good versus evil, that good has about the same equality of power as evil, and they come head on.
Can we get back to the cartoon?
No kidding.
Please?
You started with the cartoon, and now you're talking about the game. Like, there's really the only thing the 2 share is a name and like basic character classes. That's
which,
it.
Even then, I remember watching this as a young kid, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like something that would be in the game. It's like watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and thinking that's an accurate representation of the Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Which I did go back and try watching that. Don't do that. Oh. You may have fond memories of Captain Lou Albano playing Mario. No. No, god damn it, no.
In Collision, where that's not the outline we see in the Bible. We see a good that is all-powerful, that has taken dominion of the world, that created the world.
Yes.
And we see Satan who's been defeated.
Absolutely. And that's what we want our children to know, that Jesus is greater than Satan. He has won all the way. He's the conqueror.
Explain that part where he succumbed to being crucified. I mean, really? Apparently he was sweating blood before he was flogged, according to some accounts that I've read. It says to me the Son of God, knowing that he's got an ace in the hole of having his dad and himself actually being God, probably shouldn't be like stressing things too much. But usually that happens when people are super stressed. Anyway.
Now, let me read you one quick letter here. The cassette, this is a letter that came from a lady that had heard my cassette on Dungeons and Dragons, and she just mentions how it...
Oh my god, this guy's the Matt Powell of 1985. That's what this guy is. Holy shit. I would put that cassette that this guy made, put into a Teddy Ruxpin. That'd be funny.
Changed the personality of her young boy. She says, the cassette from the Eagle's Nest especially helped me with my boy who was involved with D&D at a private high school which promoted D&D as part of their attractive strategic game club. She says, for a period of about 6 months, we lost Tonio, our son. He became rebellious, disrespectful, lethargic. He made sneering faces at us and carried with him a very hostile spirit that could be felt wherever he went in the...
Teenager, you say?
Yeah. Amazing.
Fucking amazing. It's kind of the same thing that happens when they're learning to become adults and they're kind of assholes.
House. After much sorrow, Tonio finally let go of D&D only after his father forbid the game as his day's pastime. He couldn't make it his day's pastime. She said he had put aside all studies for this game. Now, I want to say that the reason the danger comes into this is that not only is it a game now, but the cartoons, which the children even identify more strongly with, are now coming up with D&D cartoons of the occult. Let's see another segment of a D&D cartoon.
Now we're back to the cartoon.
Occultism and witchcraft. Here's the cartoon.
Alfor? Alfor? I've come from the children. We're going to rescue you.
How thoughtful of them. Only it is not I who need rescue.
Venger shapeshifting.
You will soon be joined by your friends.
It's been over an hour now. I think she's in trouble.
I think she was in trouble when she left.
In truth, there's a 97% chance that something unexpected has happened to your friend.
Oh, brother.
Ovino is right.
Dungeon Master!
In fact, you are all in great danger.
No kidding.
However, through defeat, you shall find victory.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, we're seeing here, Phil, all kinds of demonic creatures. Anything else you want to say about Dungeons and Dragons?
I don't fucking care what they're going to say about Dungeons and Dragons at this point, because honestly, it's gone on way too fucking long. All they're saying is like, "Ooh, those things look spooky. I don't like them. That means that they're evil."
Basically, yeah.
I don't like anything I don't understand. We need to find a new series of Satanic Panic clips out there. If you guys see them, leave them in the comments below. If you're on the podcast, send us an email or a text or something like that. We've gotten some other people that wanted to talk to us about how Christians at one time thought that punk was satanic.
Oh, of course they did.
Of course, but
they've thought everything is.
Everything's satanic. And
Everything.
I made the joke a couple months ago where, yeah, they used to think Kiss was satanic. You know, it's like, go back and listen to Kiss. It's like, man, what milquetoast, quote unquote, metal this was. You know?
Oh yeah, Kiss is terrible.
Don't get me wrong. I still has a special place in my heart when listening to a couple of songs, but they're not that great. They're not as fucking great as a lot of people like to think them being. And let the hate comments come rolling in on that